Evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 51 of Combe TV, and it's a rather special one tonight. I'm hoping he's going to be here. He's probably more like 7:30 that we're going to see him here, but we're going to build up to it, and he's going to suddenly appear in my green room, and we're going to bring on our new outright lap record holder. He's done an incredible job, and he's blasted it, and he blasted it multiple times. Do you want to see it? Here it is. How unbelievable was that lap? We're going to pour over that when the man himself comes onto the show a little bit later, because there's things, I've got the timing, each of his lap times during both of those races to see just how many times that he beat it. And we're going to analyze, it's really geeky of us, but it is mind-blowing to actually look at that lap and see the brake use, or shall we say the lack of. I don't know if anybody actually noticed that. Camp in particular, I showed it to the current Mrs. Dawes last night. She loved it. She loves it when I show her motor racing stuff. Honestly, it's no, she doesn't, does she? But hey, we gave it a go anyway. But even she turned around and she went, he didn't use the brake at all into camp. He didn't. Unbelievable. Over Avon Rise before he even applied the brakes. He was well over 200 kilometers an hour over Avon Rise onto the flat before he threw the anchors out the back. Unbelievable to see what he did. I'm not majorly surprised. It was going to be him or Alex Falls that was going to do it at some point. And when we saw that the F3 Cup was coming, I just knew full well it was going to go. I've had the privilege of commentating on the F3 Cup for quite a few years now. Awesome, awesome stuff. So we're going to have our new outright lap record holder. 2005 was when that was set by Speedy Dan Clarke, who went off to do things over stateside as well as over here. And he was really supportive, to be fair. It was really lovely to see him being so supportive. We will wait for him to come on. I shall see him appear, hopefully. Hopefully he's going to appear on the bottom. Don't panic. I'm calm. I hope you are. Dilly dilly, everybody. And I've got to say a special thank you, because it's the flirtations, as in Ollie Bull in the GTs. Thank you guys for the bottle of gin, much appreciated. Anyway, I think it gets me to talk about him even more. He's a winner, so we always talk about him. But evening, everybody. I'm sure many of you have now heard I don't have a wingman anymore. I did know that he was going when he wasn't on the last time, but it was waiting until he announced. Tom has left, sadly, Castle Combe. And congratulations, he and Amelia have just had a bouncing baby boy, gave birth on Friday. James, absolutely. Oh, the man himself. Hi, Stefano. Good man. Right, he's in the green room, so we can bring him up in a minute. But yeah, they've had a beautiful little baby boy. So congratulations to Tom and Amelia on that one. But I don't have a wingman. I've got to make a decision what to do there. I may well find that I need to get an additional wingman on. Wingman or woman, wing person on. And I need to find out, anybody got any suggestions, even if it's yourself, it doesn't mean you're definitely going to get it, but put your names forward or put other people's names forward. And it might not be that it's the same person every time. We maybe rotate around a group of them. But apparently Combe TV has got to carry on. You've all asked, and I'm humbled by that. Thank you very much for that. And equally, the circuit have decreed they really want me to do it. So it's lovely. It's going to carry on. Rest assured. I know it's not every week now. It's generally speaking, I try to do every other week, but please bear with me if it sort of lapses a little bit. It's just because I'm busy running the businesses. I'm trying to keep going as well. So quickly bring up some of the comments. Emma Strawford, our very own Emma. Hi, Emma. Everyone, hope you are well. Chris Mason, Paramedic Mason. Good evening, all. Hope everyone is well. Tim Perry, one of the mighty Orange Army. Evening, all. It's a dilly from me. And it's a dilly from me. I need to be careful with this one because the current Mrs. Dawes is at David Lloyd Gym. Other gyms are available, I'm told. I don't know, do I? But hey, good man, a glass of red in the background. I can see there. Stefano, I can't hear you talking, Stefano, but I can see you got some red. Good man. But the current Mrs. Dawes will be back later, and she'll keep me topped up, as you know. Rest assured. Mike, hello, Mike. Evening all. Look forward to hearing how it was done last Saturday. The man himself is in the background, ready to do it. Evening. I'll just quickly put that. Stefano's just commented that he's just got back from David Lloyd as well. Other gyms are available, everyone, just so we don't get in trouble. Evening, Anne-Marie, Formula Woman. Well done on getting as far as you have. Keep going, Anne-Marie. Gerald, evening all. Scott Woodwiss. Dilly, looking forward to Alton Park and Silverstone, 2 race meetings in one weekend. Good man, glad to hear it, my friend. It was amazing to see it on Saturday, says Tim Perry, and that will have been in the orange overalls. Pete Spiller, evening, Dawesy from Spiller Villas. See, I added a little bonnet de douche tone to that one. Sorry, mate. Ben Hayward, evening all, mega lap. Very honoured to have stood at Quarry and witnessed the first time, and then at S's in for the second. So smooth it was. And don't panic if you missed when I showed it a second ago. We're going to show it more times during this show, I can assure you. Emma Strawford says the rate of knots into camp caused the media mansion to step back. I'd imagine that means it was mind-blowing. I agree, especially when he had the little tail feather twitch. That was a moment. We shall have a word with him about that one. Lewis Bird, evening everyone. I'm looking forward to the next meeting, 3rd and 4th of July. I'm not there for that one, but best of luck to everyone. Mind-blowing lap. Rob Jones, evening, Chris. Oh, I've lost where I was. There we go. Ben Hindle, hi all. Emma Strawford says Rob Jones is one possibility to co-host with me. Not against that one. The guy's a nut job, but we got on brilliantly. As long as he's got his internet sorted, that's fine. Let's do auditions. I agree, Pete Spiller. We may well have to do something like that. Luke McGinchey, apologies if I've mispronounced that. Hello all. Keith Rain, hello mate, good evening to everyone. Emma Strawford on the Chianti here tonight. I've got to be honest and say there's a reasonable chance Stefano is as well, but it certainly was red wine. We'll see. Luke says, evening Dawesy, looking forward to the classic bikes race meeting. Absolutely. I can't remember whether I'm working elsewhere for that one. And Darren Duffield, one of our very own racers in the local series Mega Lap. It was fast. That's an understatement. Right, I'm going to bring him in now. Let me just pre-warn you. He's shutting windows, opening windows, whichever one. Let me bring him in. Stefano, hello, my friend.
How you doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, really well. Still, I'm a little bit tired, actually. I was at Silverstone all day yesterday coaching, so 7 hours in and out of different cars. It was and it was 29 degrees, which you seldom see at Silverstone. So it was a hard day.
It was. Hopefully, it's encouraging. You're loving seeing the comments. Everyone, Luke Austin from Alpha Live, I believe that'll be. Hello, Chris. Was awesome to be there at the weekend, and I think. Stefano, you must have kind of cottoned on now just how much this has exploded that you managed to do it. And I wouldn't mind betting. I know you're a confident guy and we have a good bit of banter when we're at the circuits, but I wouldn't mind betting it's taken you by surprise just how big it's been grabbed.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've never ever raced the Castle Combe before other than last weekend. The team at CF have never been there before. So we didn't really know what to expect. And when you're used to racing at circuits like Silverstone and Alton Park and so on, and you turn up to Castle Combe, it reminded me a little bit of my home circuit back in Wales in Pembrey. Old school,
yep.
lot of character, lot of spirit, and I think it took us back a little bit because even when we were speaking to the marshals and just the general members of staff, everybody is really into it, really into the motorsport, really passionate about what they do. You don't often see that at the MSV circuits and Silverstone. There is a sort of a level of detachment from what you're doing and the member of and the staff at the circuits. But at Castle Combe, everybody is involved, and it was lovely to see marshals and spectators and people in the paddock coming up to us afterwards and having a chat, talking about the car, and it was nice. Everyone came away really pleased.
Well, I mean, it's sad, really, that we're still. I know that we're back to spectators being back at circuits, but as you will have seen, is that sadly we got the separate bubbles, and as you can probably imagine from everything you're saying there, is that people love it, the paddock being open, and people can come in, and they really do that. And you'd have had even more people coming and speaking to you, especially after you'd done it. Certainly after the first time you broke it in race number 1, where they'd have had time to have come and seen you. It's such a family, which is why Castle Combe TV exists. We launched it at the beginning of lockdown 1, when everyone kind of went, "What the hell's this? What are we going to do?" And it was quite scary, confusing times. The family stuck together, the marshals, the racers, the spectators, everybody associated with the circuit, and it goes way back.
It's got its own cult following, and I can kind of see why to a degree. It's just, there's nowhere else like it. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on Castle Combe TV. I'm saying it because it's kind of unique, really. And
I will back him up because he was saying it to me when we were chatting in the paddock. So you definitely were saying it already. So, and it's a sobering place. There's not often you go to circuits where those are the sort of circuits that the people that I grew up watching racing would have raced at. How close the barriers are, how close the spectators are. I mean, when I was doing my green flag laps and the parade lap at the end of the race, you can see people's faces. You can make people out, and you just can't do that at most circuits. No. And I have to tell you, and I'm going to say this because I was chatting to a few other people that raced on that day for the first time at Combe, and they were going, it was amazing, the numbers of spectators around. That was incredibly quiet compared to usual. Now I know
why Quarry is the most crashed corner in the UK, because everyone's looking at the bloody spectators and not where they're meant to be going.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right.
You come up the brow of the hill, you turn in, and then it's just a sea of people, and you're like, oh, and then you forget to, and then you go off.
You're probably right.
That's why Quarry is the most crashed corner in the UK, but because of the spectators. It's all your fault.
Then again, I think it's chicken and egg, you see. It's like, why is there so many spectators there, you see? Yeah. I'm guilty. My dad and I, when I was 5 years old, that's where I fell in love with racing, sat up there, and there was a reason why we loved it up there.
The first time I went to Anglesey, I did a similar thing. And there's a corner at Anglesey called Peel. It's the very top right-hander that goes over and down, and you just see a lovely view of the Menai Straits and Snowdonia in the distance. And I caught myself sightseeing effectively as I was driving. And I almost drove off the circuit when I was in my Radical. I remember that vividly. That's definitely a true story. And similar thing happened on the during qualifying. You just sort of like, oh, where are all these people? Because remember, last year I did a whole season, barely saw anybody around the circuit because it was those spectators the majority of the time. So.
Well, think about me as I was commentating with no spectators there on you as well. It was
lovely
a
to have
weird
people back in, in and around the paddock and around the venue. It's kind of why we do it in a way. It's nice to get people there and see everybody watching and enjoying themselves for a first time in a long time.
I think I know the answer to this because you and I have chatted enough times over the years. And certainly I chatted to you on that morning and you were very sort of confident. And I'm assuming that that's legit rather than a sort of a facade. But I was about to ask the question, does it put more pressure on you with those spectators there, though?
It does. And actually, me and my fiance, we had a baby 8 weeks ago today, actually.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. They came for the first time to watch me race with him. He's actually got an amazing picture of him in the pram with me going around Camp Corner, which is quite cool.
Wow.
So I sort of had that in the back of my mind, and I kind of wanted to make sure that I did them, put on a good display for them. But it does, for me, it actually helps when there's people there because I feel like I'm not on my own. Weirdly, I feel like I'm sharing the burden. It's much nicer to race when you've got people around watching, and it does actually help rather than hinder.
Did it? I'm going to come back to the baby in a second, but I was about to make a comment as well. Is that did it put more pressure on you knowing that record was there for the grabs, or was it a nice sort of goal, a nice target for you?
Initially, it was. I mean, we obviously as a team at CF wanted to break that record because we were like, but because no one's been there in such a long time, didn't really have any data. We were sort of getting scraps of information from people. The chicanes had changed a little bit in terms of how much curbing that they use now. We just had no real bearing on it. So we were like, I don't know if the 59 is fast or it's slow or it's easy or. So on the test day, in fact, the Thursday test day was probably better conditions than the actual race day.
Oh, right.
It was a lot cooler, less humidity in the morning. And we got some good times on the test day. So it kind of in my head, I was like, right, okay, I know that it's in sight. I know that we can do this. But then again, you just never know. It's when crunch time comes and you've got the 20 minutes of time to break the record, it's in the back of your mind every lap. You're like, okay, am I going to push now? Am I going to push? And it's so easy to make a mistake there. It's the margins are so small. It's a difficult circuit to be super committed at because I can push the boundaries easy at Silverstone. I can go, right, how fast can I go into this corner? I can push a little bit more. If I spin off, I spin off. There's tons of tarmac. I get back on. I carry on. At Castle Combe, you do not have that luxury.
No,
you just don't. I actually had a slight mishap in testing actually. So at the last chicane, is it called Bobby's? Is that right?
Yep.
At the last chicane on the exit on the left, they actually had that they didn't have in the race. They actually had a row of tyres.
Yeah.
In between the actual sausages, and I did a Charles Leclerc, and I turned in a bit too early, and I just clipped that tyre with the outside of my left tyre wall, and it completely broke all the wishbones and everything.
Wow!
It was a graze, but because it was quick and it was loaded up, it's the slightest of mishaps can have huge consequences. So,
well, and on that subject, as I said, I was going to go back to it with regards to your lovely little one as well. Now is that whilst you use the phrase that you want to put a show on for them because it was lovely they were there, but you often hear stories, even like the F1 guys, Michael Schumacher changed, Seb Vettel. They're once. I don't know. I think it kind of gives you a life check, doesn't it? Once you've got this sort of like gorgeous, helpless little one relying on you. Did you find that also having a bearing on the day as well?
I'm going to say this now because he's asleep. Will not understand what I'm saying anyway. And my no, I didn't feel any of that. It weird. I thought I would, but even at Silverstone, I didn't feel. When you put your visor down. And those lights go out, everything else just goes out the window. You have no real estate in your mind to think
apart
about.
from spectators at Quarry.
Except for spectators at Quarry. Certainly at a place like Castle Combe, you need to use all of your concentration there. You can't be thinking about, am I going to crash? Am I going to come off? You've got to be so focused on the task in hand. There's nothing else you can think about.
And we saw how hard it can hit, because one of your competitors had a big hit at camp, coming out of camp in qualifying, that caused a red flag. And that's the whole point, is there's not much there. He just ran a little bit wide, sucked him into it. How that team got that car back out again, I do not know, because the rear end was just destroyed. It was an amazing job. But you've got to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help, because you see the devastation on the car, and I think Team Fox did a great job repairing it. All the other teams, CF helped out with parts, Chris Dittman helped out with parts, UWR helped out with labour. Everyone helped to get the car back on the grid.
Brilliant. Which incident you probably regretted, because he then held you up with the blue flags, but that's another story.
Don has since apologised for that, and I told him that he's meant to be doing Le Mans 24-hour this year. I said, if you can't see me in the mirrors, you've got no hope of seeing them. So no, I just think he wasn't in the right frame of mind, and I think he he was already having a tough morning, and I don't think he probably wanted me to pass him. So it's understandable. He gave me Dan gave me a nose tip to say sorry, so the damage was repaired, and it's all forgotten about. It is what it is.
And I was joking, by the way, if anybody else is watching this, is that in fairness, I was being incredibly complimentary, is that how he got back out there on circuit after that big hit with what would he have done? 2 laps in qualifying, and then the incident. So that was it. Get back out there, and he got himself in the zone. I think he was 1 second off of his best time, and that was it. And then come the second race, bang, he was back on it, and he came second in the Euro Formula class. So fair shout.
Yeah. I say us racing drivers that have more don't have a lot of sense, really. I also think the sooner you get back on the horse, as they say, the better it is. The longer you mull over it in your mind, the more time you've got to think. It's worse.
And picking up on that, and by the way, everybody, I know that there's loads of comments that have come in, and I will come back to them in a second. But I
can't see any of these comments, by the way.
It's okay. You will when I put them up on screen. That's fine.
Okay, fine.
Is that when in race number 1, and I think you have touched on it elsewhere as well, is that you did have a high-speed moment. You came round camp. Yeah. I think you'd already broken the lap record by that point. But you came round, and I'm sure actually it was the lap after you'd broken it, and you just got slightly out of shape and had a big old wiggle, almost like a MotoGP bike, the way you went round that corner, to be honest. And I was up in the commentary box talking about it, and I even nearly ran to the back of the box to hide. It was how did that feel?
So I know exactly why it happened, and in most cars, it probably doesn't affect it. But when you turn into Camp Corner, you can't fully take the apex in one of these cars, because you've actually got a slight dip in the tarmac before you get to the apex curve. So I did it in testing. I had the same thing happen to me in testing, which is why when you saw me come into Camp Corner, it almost looked like I was like missing the apex every time. But I was actually doing that on purpose, because it was faster for me to turning a little bit later and get on the power earlier than it was for me to carry a little bit more speed in, tighter, and then get on the power later. It's so that bump. I think the minimum speed through camp in the end was around 190k. So when you're doing 190k, which is 120 miles an hour, 118 miles an hour, something of that sort. The slightest imperfection in the circuit affects the car high speed, and because the circuit is so undulating and so bumpy in places, we have to set the car up to be quite compliant for the bumps, which means at high speed, the stiffness of the car is actually compromised. Yes. So when you turn in, there's actually Stephen Carpenter, SPC photographer, has taken one picture, and you can see the car pitching, and the outside tyres are literally curved round. They're under so much load.
Wow.
And that's why I think John did exactly the same thing. I think he hit that bump pushed him wide, and with the curbs at Castle Combe, you've got some ridges, and then you've got a dip in the curb.
Yeah.
And that dip causes a massive oscillation in the tyre, which will then break traction.
Yeah.
Which is why if you're going to go on the curbs in Castle Combe, you go on the green. You don't go on the red. You just you skim the red if you can. With a GT car or a historic car with a higher profile tyre and a bit more compliancy on the suspension, it probably won't affect it as much. But with these cars, it's a carbon tub. There's no give. You feel everything, and it patters on the way out, and it actually slows down, which is why keeping in the track limits is actually quicker than sending the car out here and everywhere like you would maybe do at Silverstone or Donington.
Listen to that Formula 4 drivers. You've heard it now, all right? I know that a lot of you got zapped with in the past you've got done with that. It makes sense. And I know that through camp is that you may or may not know, but Josh Smith in the Radical PR6, he's another local driver to us. He spends more time sort of spannering and coaching these days than actually driving. But he also spent most of the last 5 years trying to break Tim Gray's record in the Spire, didn't he? Correct, exactly. And we really thought he was going to do it when we had the sports cars there. But he said, and I'm sure that he was mentioning, is that just on the exit of camp, there's a seam, because obviously we had it retarmacked a few years ago, and there's just a seam. And it meant that he couldn't pick it up as quick as he would like to, the speed again. Yeah,
I think there's also an undulation on the exit. So if you get the entry wrong, and you're in the wrong part of the track for the exit, you can almost lose it on the exit, which I actually think John did. He lost it on the exit rather than the entry.
Yeah,
he messed the entry up, which pushed him wide, which then he lost it on the exit. So it's a lethal corner regardless of what you think. You've got to. It's one of the few corners that I've driven where every single time I came towards it, I took a deep breath. I go, oh, here we go again. You know what I mean? In my head. Everywhere else, I could compartmentalize my mind. That corner, I'd come out of the exit of the chicane, I'd come around, I'd pull over to the left by where the pit entry is, and I'd get to it, and I'd take a deep breath and go, here we go again. Because it is such a daunting corner, because it's sharp, it's probably sharper than Copse, and the barriers are extremely close to the circuit. Yes, you got the tech phone, but it's anything that goes wrong there, it's not going to end well. So you have to be committed, and thankfully on a few laps I was. So
yeah, well, massively so. I mean, it was just, as so many people were saying, it's mind blowing to watch it through there in particular. But as I say, we saw you that. Then you just kind of I've got a feeling is that the following lap you were possibly even a second slower or something to that effect, or maybe half a second, because you just kind of went, right, just calm it down a minute. You got yourself back in the groove, and then you went off again. Was that a right interpretation from the outside?
Yeah, because when I saw it on the dash that I'd done a 58.5, I thought, well, if I'm going to continue pushing with the circuit temp as it is, I'm only going to have to drive harder to probably get the same lap time. The tyres peaked after about 7 or 8 laps. It was a very hot day. The track temperature was 42 degrees on the second race. It's not really ideal. So I knew I had to do it early. But, to back off a little bit, to kill a second off. The majority of the backing off was actually in the last corner and into the chicanes.
Okay.
The rest of the circuit was pretty much the same.
Well, I'm just going to quickly bring up. Let me have a look. Which one do I want? Doesn't make it clear. Let me see if it's this one that I want. No, wrong one. Let me just share the other one, purely because I've got this is full level geekery going on here. But I'm going to look at the first race.
Okay.
Doesn't make it easy for me to know which one I want to look at, but I'm going to try this one this time.
You say full level geekery. Now I start drinking water rather than wine.
Yeah. Right. I'm just quickly bringing up your lap times. Is that if we, and I'm going to put this up to full screen for a second so that people can see this, is that you'd managed to do it, as you say, you'd broken the lap record. So remember that the lap record was 59.387. So you did it, as you said, you'd done it actually by lap 3, 58.873. 58.804, you then did the following lap. Now, this is where you said that your tyres were at their best. You weren't.
Yeah, in the second race. This is the first race, isn't it?
It was, absolutely. But I'm just sort of going through this, is that you beat it multiple times in that one.
Yeah.
And, if I share...
I think what I did, I beat it quite early, and then I throttled off a little bit to get the tyres back in, because the more I kept pushing, they would go off even quicker. And it's a 20-minute race, so you're looking at nigh on 20 laps around there.
It was exactly 20 laps here, yeah.
And it's all because it's so high speed. The offside of the car gets such a battering because the tires get no respite really. There's not a huge amount of straightaway compared to how many corners there are, and even the straight is still slightly curved. So the tires just get an absolute beating. So
there you go.
It was necessary to drop the times off to then pick them back up again later on.
Yeah, and as you say here, 58.596. That's the new lap record around Castle Combe, and it was on lap 5. That, I think, was probably when you threw it at the scenery. You went into the grass, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought I'd do some sustainable racing and collect some cabbage patches on the way around.
Amazingly, you came out in the lead still, didn't you?
I actually, to be fair, that lap was my best lap, the one I went off. I was up by about 2.5 tenths. So
really?
if I would have completed it and I would have been as good through that chicane and the last corner as I was the previous lap, it would have been another 2 tenths quicker. Yeah.
Wow. Which is disappointing because you and I were chatting in the morning and the target was, and I know I was sort of messing about on the mic and I know it was fairly flippant, but it was still a target. You were going for basically, in effect, a second off of the lap record is what you were going for.
Yeah. I would have liked to have done a 58.3 because I knew we had it in the car. But yeah, I went a bit hot into Bobby's. I think I carried about 3 or 4K more in on the entry, and it was just a little bit too much. And the car didn't like it, and it just said no, thank you, and spat me off. So that was that. But at least it gives me some room to maybe beat it next time I'm at Castle Combe. So I haven't made it too difficult for myself.
Well, I mean, that's the beauty, is that we know that there's more, and it's just so exciting to see that went. And let me say it again, because I know I passed the message down to Clive, who's doing the interviews. Is massive congratulations, mate. It was so good to see, and I loved it. And I know that when we were chatting in the morning and we were sort of winding Rachel up and everything, and there was this whole sort of like banter and bravado going, yeah, of course I am. Which you do have this confidence, and that's what I love about everything that you do. But you're still a human being in the heart there as well. So
I sort of trick myself. My favorite quote of all time, and people laugh if I say this who know me because I say it quite a lot. My favorite ever quote in life is Henry Ford, and he goes, "Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're probably right."
Yeah.
And it's for me, I can convince myself that I can do something, and then more often than not, it will end up happening. But there's been times where I've raced where I haven't felt confident, and I bring myself down. And it's when you're in the wrong frame of mind, you just, no matter how able you are, you're never going to do it. It's such a mental game, motorsport. It's so much more in your mind than it is in your body. I just kept telling myself all weekend, no, it's fine. I'm going to do this. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
And you did, mate, and well done. It was absolutely wonderful to see. Lewis Bird, one of our saloon racers, looked like it was on rails, and it really did. It was
Lewis. I wish it was. I wish it was on rails.
But that's in fairness, that's a compliment, because when you can make it look like it's on rails, that's where you know you're doing it right.
Yeah. So these cars aren't quick when you're constantly oversteering everywhere. They're not quick. It's you've got to have a small amount of rotation, of course, but when you're sliding around in these cars, it's just going to slow you down. So you've even seen it on an F1 qualifying. When you look at Hamilton's on board, it looks like he's not even trying. And when you look like you're not trying, it's when you're going fast. When you're scrappy and you're oversteering everywhere and the car's loose all over the place, it's not ideal.
Which, and I know it's not a comparison, but they even say when the stars are doing the fast laps on Top Gear, for example, and they're saying if it looks slow, it's going to be fast. If it looks fast, it's going to be slow. And that invariably can. Well, David Vivian, another one of our ex-racers, single-seater Formula Fords. He's kind of stepped back at the minute and working with Wiltshire College, I think, still. Was very impressive to watch over Avon Rise. I'm going to bring the video up again for us to look at in a second, in a few. But what I noticed going over Avon Rise, and that's, I know we sort of like had a joke about Quarry Corner with the fans, but it's a very challenging corner, and that starts with Avon Rises as you go up over, and the weight's transferred up into the air.
Is the hardest bit of that part, because we were trying a few different lines, and actually, I was asking people like Josh Smith for advice and Tim Gray, because I've never raced it before, and when I watch their on board, their line is actually different to the one I ended up taking because the car's different. And and actually, most cars you see on board, even when I watched the saloon on board prior to me going there, most of the cars stay out wide a little bit longer than I was, and then turning it in a bit later. Whereas actually for me, I edging the car in earlier actually was a lot faster, and I was able to get on the power a lot earlier. Odd. I don't know why that is. Just car dependent, part of the day, weather. But when I tried that different approach to it in testing, it worked. We gained quite a bit of time there.
One of the key things that I pick up from you, Stefano, is that you clearly, from what you say there, is you pour over, not just data, but other people's onboards and things like that. And you sort of like go into great detail about that. However, you're very much at one with the car, because you feel, the detail that you've been able to go into about Avon Rise, Quarry, Camp in particular, and the chicanes, is that you're there able to feel, and it just sounds like you're at one with your car.
These cars are the best cars I've ever driven. I've driven a lot. I've been forced to drive a lot of different machinery over the years. And
yeah, but you're like that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but these, it's the level of feel that you get from the car. Being a carbon monocoque chassis, you've got an engine strapped to your back, basically. There's no driver aids of any kind. There's no power steering, so it's just you and the car. And when you get a proper seat insert and you're strapped in really tight, you just feel everything. And if you can absorb that feedback and interpret it, the car almost tells you a lot. You just got to listen to it. And a lot of the time people forget about that, forget about the actual feel of what's going on underneath you, and just look at a computer screen. Well, the computer screen tells you what you're doing. It doesn't tell you what the car's doing. So it's trying to amalgamate the two. And to be fair, credit to Howell and Ash. They've been very good over the years with helping me improve how I interpret my data. And every time I go to track, I learn. And you never stop learning in motorsport. I've learned so much from driving a Formula 3 car. It's vastly improved my driving, I think.
Well, that's interesting, because I was about to make a comment that would have been actually very wrong from what you've said there. Is that I was almost going to say that, from what it sounds to me, is that, like, for example, you've been off coaching and coaching other racing drivers and what have you. You can certainly sort of like give them advice on what they should and shouldn't be doing. Yeah. But I was about to say is that what you've got in terms of listening to the car, I was going to say you can't teach that, but you're saying absolutely, because you've been taught how to interpret what you're feeling.
And I think like Nicky Lauda was a famous example. He was exceptional at getting feedback from the car, interpreting that feedback, talking to his engineers to improve the car. Some drivers are very, very good at that. Some drivers are exceptional drivers, but need an exceptional team behind them to get the best out of them. Yeah. So it's I every time I get in the car, I just try and learn as much as possible, and over time you just gain more skill set and more knowledge base, and you go, oh, I remember doing that last time, maybe try that, and when the car was doing this, we changed that, and you just build up a little bit of a list in your mind of scenarios that you've been in. And I think you never stop learning in motorsport. I think there's always something that surprises you.
Well, I mean, that's the key thing I want people to take from that is that, because I find it interesting, but I would, but it's like the fact that you can actually learn, because you always hear stories of, like, say, Ayrton Senna, for example, the late, great, incredible Ayrton Senna, that he would come in and he would suddenly be able to give feedback like you wouldn't believe. And you always thought that was something that you were born with. But I love hearing it's like, no, it's something that you can actually learn, and you've managed to learn and been coached on as well.
It can definitely be harnessed, 100%. I don't think you can teach somebody to have a sensitive bum.
Of course.
What I mean by that, audience, is that sensation from the car, feeling what the car's doing, and having the presence of mind to feel what's going on as well as driving. Because when you're driving and you're concentrating, sometimes you forget about what's going on. So you've got to, when we're out testing, a lot of the time is you're trying to use all your senses to your advantage to give as much feedback to your engineers as possible for them to help you. Because if you come back as the audience and you go, "God, shit," well, really, that's not really, you'd be surprised how many people do it. Well,
I can believe it.
That's not helping. Why is it crap? What's it doing? How is it behaving low speed? How's it behaving high speed? And I think because these cars have got so much adjustment, and the slightest adjustment makes a ton of difference. I mean, we didn't do a huge amount of adjustment over the weekend, but it was mainly aero balance. But there's like, the wing has 18 or 21 different holes, right? And each hole makes a difference. And
wow.
Normally on a car, we lowered the ride height. I think Hal will probably correct me if he's watching, but I think we lowered the ride height 3 millimeters, and that made a difference.
Wow.
It's most saloon cars, hatchbacks, obviously those incremental changes would make zero difference. But in these cars, which is why they're a joy to drive, and also you've got to be exceptionally knowledgeable to work on these cars. And credit to anybody who maintains these cars and preps them and runs them, and because you have to have such a lot of knowledge. It's not a car that you can just turn up in, which is the beauty of them, but also the downside in terms of trying to get numbers on the grid, which is what leads me on to that.
Well, and I mean, to sort of show that you've had a good experience, is that you started, I mean, you were racing bikes beforehand, is that right?
Yeah. And then it's quite an interesting story how I got into cars. I did a track day in a road, like I had a BMW at the time, and I did a track day at Donington in it. And I was going up the hill towards McLean's, and as I turned in, I got absolutely dive bombed by a Radical, which I'd never seen before. Completely cut up and dive bombed by this Radical, and I couldn't believe how quickly it just passed me and just buggered off into the distance. I came back. I was initially I was a little bit angry, and then I was a bit like, "No, that was cool. I need to go and have a chat to this guy." So I go over, and it was a road legal Radical, and it was owned by a guy who I think's recently just sold it. A guy called Ross Drew, who races in the bike sports now. It was him, and he let me have a passenger ride in it actually at Donington, and I was blown away. I was blown away by it. I was like, "This is amazing. This is what I want to race. This is amazing. How do I get myself in one?" And I came across Bradley Smith, who owns 21 Performance, the simulator, very successful racing driver himself. And I managed to find an old SR1 with a stick shift that was barely used. Sold my BMW, was not interested in that anymore. Sold that. And with some of the money, I bought this SR1. And I did a load of track days in it and got used to it, and had some coaching off Bradley. Slightly prior to that, I did some coaching, cat driver training with Colin Hode. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's a very good.
Jonathan Hode's dad?
No.
Right.
He's they do race in Fun Cup, I believe, but had some driver training with them, to get rid of any habits that I knew I probably had. And it stemmed from there. And then I raced in 2017 in the 750 bike sports and managed to win it in my first year. it kind of went from there, really. It kind of went. I did some GT3 stuff with Rob Weldon in the RXC Coupe. We won race there. We came second in one, and that was a good experience. Then with Neil Primrose, I did some LMP2 stuff, some historic LMP2 stuff, which was mega. Then some CN stuff. Did a bit of prototype stuff in Europe, and then found myself in the F3 cars, which I entered in 2019. So, and that's
only there because it seems like longer ago.
I know it feels like a long time ago, but
yeah,
I had my first race at the very end of March in 2017. My first car race. So it feels like a long time ago, but it was only 4 years ago.
Well, and you consider 2017, you won that championship, first year racing cars, and you won the championship. Then last year, 2020, you won the F3 Cup Championship. And you know, it's looking like there's a blooming high chance you're going to do it again this year as well. I mean, it's mighty impressive. The Radical RXC, incredible car. I cover that in GT Cup and things like that with Steve Burgess and Ben Dimmock driving that car at the minute.
Yeah.
You still involved in that program at all?
There is the gentleman that owns that car now, a guy called Darren Goes. He was actually racing at Castle Combe on the weekend. You probably
I know Darren. Yeah,
he's got a Clio, I think now. He owns
and a big Seat in the Super Cup as well.
That's it. He also owns that RXC GT3 that Rob and I raced, which is actually the difference between that and the one that Steve Burgess races is the fact that that's the one we raced is a twin turbo V6, not a naturally aspirated engine.
Okay.
So it's a little bit quicker. Yeah. I wouldn't mind giving it another go and racing them Pragas in it because I think it would do over a course of a long race. It would do well.
And they're stunning looking cars, aren't they?
Yeah,
As a Pragas, that's an interesting one as well. I love that.
Yeah.
The LMP2s, I covered that. Sadly, it didn't last very long over here, did it? The LMP2 Championship, but they were amazing. I mean, speaking to some of the drivers, well, Dominic Paul, who you race against, he raced the LMP3. Sorry,
LMP3 they were, yeah.
Three, I meant. Sorry, yeah. And you listen to the guys; they're phenomenal cars, but they're very agricultural inside, aren't they? There's no widgets.
And they're still not as quick as an F3 car, which is nuts. You know, you've got, I mean, John Corbett races in LMP2, and he was saying it's LMP2 speed for 25% of the money.
Yeah,
it's incredible how quick these cars actually are. And I thought I'd bring it to attention because a really geeky guy commented on one of my videos on YouTube, and this guy had actually sat there and compared all my apex speeds at Silverstone Grand Prix to F1 footage. And I didn't believe him at first when he said it, but the F3 cars, the F317s, corner speed are virtually identical to a 2015 F1 car, which is nuts. Which is, I mean, I didn't believe it myself, and I'm sure a lot of people will be scrabbling on the keyboards now trying to find some footage, but trust me, I've looked at it myself, and it's unreal how far the cars have come on. And obviously now there's an F320, which is slightly quicker again, that aren't allowed in the championship yet, but hopefully they will be next year. Cars are incredible, which is why actually going from F3 to F2 to F1, it's not really much of a jump in terms of corner speed now.
And with these cars, because these are officially the Euro Formula Open cars, aren't they? And
they were, yeah. So the only difference is with the Euro Formula cars now is that they have a halo, slightly different aero package, and in the F3 Cup we're actually not allowed to run the FIA power, so we're actually running a smaller restrictor than the Euro Formula cars are. So we're about 25 horsepower down, I think.
Jeez.
So if I was to run it in current Euro Formula regs, it would easily be even faster, yeah.
But didn't you have a bit of a dalliance with Formula Euro Open? Yeah,
we did. I managed to get some budget together to do a round. It was very early on it was about May time in 2019.
Right.
And it was the team's first time. And you're right, I think I came 13th and 15th, I think, which, considering I've only been racing them for a year at that point, and the car was new to the team, when you're dealing with the likes of Carlin and Fortec and Dallara and Motor Park, it's so difficult as a smaller team to get involved. But I think if we went back, I think we'd be a lot more competitive because we're up to speed with the car now, I'm up to speed with it. The team are up to speed with it, and the new Euro Formula car isn't too dissimilar. So
and it is impressive. I've commentated on them at Silverstone a couple of years
they're amazing.
Yeah. Just mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing. Let me just catch up with people's comments because lots of people are saying stuff, and we appreciate all the comments coming in and support. Chris Payne, evening, Chris. Was my first time racing at Combe on Saturday. That was the pink Caterham from memory. That is just like an absolute rocket ship.
I saw that. Is that the one with the pink roll gauge?
I think the whole thing was pink, to be honest with you. If it was at the forefront of the track day championship, and he said watching Stefano's lap back, it was mega. Thank you, Jamie. In my eyes, Castle Combe is the home of British motorsport. Don't change a thing, guys.
I agree with you.
And you and I were chatting about this, weren't we, Stefano? Saying is that we could modernise this, we could change that, but it would lose its spirit.
It's funny. I actually, when I was coaching yesterday at Silverstone, I went to get a coffee in the international wing, which is where we were running out of, and I went upstairs and all I wanted was a coffee. Sorry, the machine's broken, and I actually said, "This is the home of British motorsport, and I can't even have a coffee." So yeah,
you can't even boil a kettle.
Right, I can have a coffee in Castle Combe, so there we go. It's the home of British motorsport.
Well, Marcus, you heard it here. Marcus, who runs Cafe Bar, hates is that absolutely. That's the point. I mean, it is so true. Is you don't want to. And in fairness, is that Castle Combe opened only 18 months after Silverstone, so it's actually it is one of the longest established.
So what's that? 70 years, 75 years, 80 years.
It should have been our 70th celebration last year, but which was going to be a big end of season shindig. But obviously, we weren't able to do it, sadly. So we're going to probably, or hopefully, in November, do a 70+1. So absolutely, and it's a very historic circuit, and the Strawfords who took it over then in '76, that family is still running it. Sadly, Howard's no longer with us.
Emma's family.
Correct, exactly right, mate. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, exactly. Her dad was, and Pat, Howard and Pat picked it up, took it on. Howard sadly no longer with us. Rest his almighty soul. He's a hero to mine because he created a facility on my doorstep that made me fall in love with the racing. Yeah. But the family is still there, taking it on and still keeping that spirit. So it's it's a big deal. Russell Pointer Brown, one of our past champions, and he drives the medical car now, and I'm sure we'll see him back racing time and time again. Even everyone, mighty lap from Stefano, large kahunas, respect. And he'll have been sat in that medical car watching you do that as well,
It was quite funny because when I was watching the Monoposto race, the medical car starts behind the grid, right?
Yeah.
And I was worried that I was going to catch him up by the end of the lap. That was actually what I was worried about. Because when I saw it go around the first time, I thought, I'd be driving a bit quicker next time because I don't want to catch him up. I don't have to back off for a bloody medical car.
But don't worry, Russell can drive quick enough when he needs
that didn't happen.
Gerald Howell says, unbelievable. Was marshalling at camp, just didn't appear to lift off at all. Scare Electric came to mind. And, if we'll have a look at it. In fact, let's bring this up right now because
it wasn't it just wasn't a particularly big one, that's all. But it definitely was a lift, yeah. It was a full lift, but off and on.
No, but the point being is that, and I'm going to just quickly flick round to that part. Here we go. So we're coming down to it. Watch the brake bit here, everybody. At the top left, into camp, no braking at all. I mean, Stefano, discuss.
It's actually not that nice watching it back, to be honest. It's one of them things where I feel more uncomfortable watching it than I do driving it. It's weird.
Really?
It was funny. At the end of the weekend, I said to Howell, who's the team principal of CF, who raced for a long time in British F3 when it was Ricardo, Raikkonen, Sainz, Perez. I said to him, "Oh, would you like to race around here?" He said, "Not a chance."
Really?
Not interested.
Wow.
No, not interested.
Wow, that's it.
Yeah. He was like, "No, it looks scary. I'm not. No."
Well, I mean, that was the big thing. When I watched this and I was poring over it and I was looking in detail and just to see that, and to be honest with you, is that you put the brakes on relatively hard after Avon Rise but into Quarry, a bit of a use of the brake bit more into the two chicanes, but Tower was just a sort of like just a blip of it briefly.
Just to give the geeks at home some sort of like info. So the peak, say for instance, Snetterton, turn 2, just as an easy example. Full
That's
proper hip.
Wilton's chicane.
Proper hairpin corner after
hairpin, sorry, yeah.
So it's a full hairpin corner down to second, coming from a really high speed corner. The break-in bar there is around about 74, 75 bar, which is so that brake bar that you see at the top of the screen.
Yeah.
That to fully get to max, it has to be at least 70 bar. The maximum bar I used at Castle Combe wasn't even 50 bar. So it's even a quarry is actually relatively soft brake in comparison to most circuits, which is why it's difficult to get the tyre temp in initially because you're not using the brakes much, which is why on the green flag lap I was just holding the brake on, weaving, just to get some heat in the tyres.
And that's the key thing people don't necessarily realise is that they assume that tyre warmth is from doing all of this or whatever else, but it's like, no, you actually use the brakes to warm the tyres from within as well.
Correct. You heat the rim with the brakes, which then heats the tyre. Interestingly, though, on the F3 cars, the most effective way to get the heat into the tyres quickly is actually to take the high speed.
Oh, really?
Because it uses so much energy, it does get the tyres up to temperature quite quickly. But because it's such a short lap, I mean, you see it on the brake pressure there. Look, it's not.
That's the key point. I just flicked forward 1 second on the time on this bit here. Is that now you've got that's probably what 50%.
It works out on the data just under 50 bar. It is, so it's not a huge amount.
No, and the point being is that only now are you starting to reduce down from 191 kilometres. You've gone over Avon Rise. Look at this, everyone, and I know that everyone watching will appreciate this. You're over the Avon Rise. You're now into this part, and now that you've decided to, I better slow down and not look at the spectator.
Yeah, so can you see what I was saying about the line? Is a lot of cars hug this outside edge for a bit longer.
Yeah.
And then turn in. Whereas actually I was bleeding it in earlier.
Yeah, if I flick it through,
the corner's way over there, but
a bit too much there. Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I see what you mean. You are coming very early, aren't you?
Yeah, because there's a nice compression on the apex of this corner, and the car liked that. So feeding it in slowly, rather than hanging it out a bit longer, then sending it in was actually a lot quicker on the data.
I just love this, and then but even with all of that, still bang, hit that little apex.
Yeah, I think it's literally as soon as I hit the apex, it's back on the power. Yeah,
I was about to say back on the power, using the power to sort of like drag you back to the outside of it as well.
Yeah,
many of us will remember as well is that when people that used to go wide and they used to go onto this grass over on the left-hand side of that curbing, and there used to be this almighty hump on the grass, and you'd know when a saloon car went over there, you'd wait for it to go boom, and it'd never recover from that.
It's quite funny when I was Googling YouTubing footage of Castle Combe on board, the majority of the hits I was getting were static cameras at quarry of just people crashing. Because it's so common for people to crash there. I was thinking, oh God. But yeah. So
apparently, statistically, over 50% of all motor racing accidents in this country happen at Quarry Corner.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me, to be honest.
It's mind blowing, isn't it? So now we're going down.
Is the hard bit.
To the S's. This one is a more level chicane, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's harder. So
really,
that's the hardest of the two chicanes because the exit actually you can carry a lot of speed in, but you've got the way you do it is you've got to turn in, brake as you turn in, then you've got to get off the brake completely. And because those sausages are there on the inside curb, you can only use the red and white. You've got to quickly flick it, then you've got to wait patiently so the car sets itself to get on the power. Because there's a little dip again, which if you get on the power too early, if you were to watch something either on board, I oversteer every time. I exit. So you've got to be really patient with the throttle on the way out. So you've almost got to coast. It's quite unnatural. You've got to coast the speed in rather than like bang off the brake, turn, bang. You've got to coast it in for a lot longer.
Wow.
Get back on the power, which feels slow, but it was the quickest way on the data. Rather than going in a bit slower, getting on the power earlier, it was actually quicker just to send it in and get on the power as on a little bit later at the exit.
Well, actually, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll turn the noise on so we can hear you coasting into this one then.
Yeah. It sounds like I'm coasting for ages, but actually
it was,
yeah. But actually, it's the car's more settled when you just coast the speed in, rather than trying to change its pitch mid corner, which is what you would do if you were to power on or brake. You'd either pitch it forward or back.
Yeah,
it was better just to keep the car level, and just send the speed through, and then pick up the power later.
And then, of course, you've got to try and drag it. I think you only go to sort of like mid-circuit.
Yeah,
go through the fast right-hand.
This is an easy flat corner, so you don't need. There's no point going all the way out because you're just making the corner. You're making the track longer for yourself. So,
and of course, remember that before 1999 is that chicane wasn't there, and you used to go flat out to this corner. I mean, imagine that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I can see why they put the chicanes in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know it is Marmite, it's split opinions, but there's no question it had to. Now we're coming down in towards Tower. Now, everybody watch the brake up in the top left-hand corner there. It's only a little bit of brake and I'm going to say early, I'm talking relatively speaking, and it looked to me as though it was just get everything stable and then you're back on the power quite early.
Yeah, because what I do less of a brake with the brakes themselves. And if you listen, I actually do 2 quick down changes. So I use, because the engine braking is obviously less than braking.
Yeah.
It was easier to do a bit of brake and then downshift quickly to turn in. I was trying to do that corner in 5th, but for whatever reason, the gearing wasn't quite right. So 4th was actually better. It kept, because it's off camber a little bit on the entry. And then it dips down. So it's like once you get in, it's nice. You get all the grip, but you've got to get over that initial hump to get there. And when I was trying it in 5th, the revs were a bit too low, which meant the car wanted to push on, which meant I would end up too far over onto the exit. So,
wow, it's just like fine lines, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you need to get back on the power. It's only a short drag from the exit of Tower to Bobby's, but you still need to do that, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, you do. Yeah, it's imperative because it's slightly uphill there as well. So,
well, let's have a listen to what you were explaining then. Yeah, I see exactly what you mean there.
Most people could probably think it was 1, but it's actually 2. And the reason why the other reason why it was also quicker was because when you get to Bobby's, you then had to downshift twice if you were in 5th rather than once. And because the car's really high in the revs, almost on the limiter in 4th, it meant that I could just throttle off, bang the brakes, down 1, turn in. Whereas otherwise I would have had to do 2 changes, which would have meant I would have traveled. I think when we looked at the data, when I did 2 changes, I traveled another 4 meters. So that 1 gear change was 4 meters of track before I could turn in.
Wow.
So it meant everything had to go back 4 meters. So it's such fine margins. What I mean, it's.
What did you feel going through this one? Because I've always sort of like in this second apex here, there's quite a dip there, isn't there?
Yeah. Have you ever been to Snetterton before?
Yes.
Yeah, of course you have.
You and I have chatted enough times there as well.
this is like a reverse mini bomb hole.
Oh right, really?
So the car compresses lovely on the entry, and then it gets light on the exit.
Got you.
Yeah. The track dips way more than you can capture on the camera.
Yeah,
but it really dips down at the apex, which is why you can carry so much speed through this corner. Even though it's tighter than the previous one, it's not really far off in terms of minimum.
Okay.
And it's because of the compression zone.
And let's just go back to where you did lose it. It was coming into here. You did the turn right, and then basically carried on turning right and pirouetted off into the what caused that?
I turned in. So where the car is now, I was probably carrying another 5-6K. And it was just too much. So when I went to turn, because it's such a quick turn, that extra speed, the car was like no, and it just went.
Fine. No, that's
because I was chasing the dash. I could see on the dash I was down, so I was like, right, chasing the time, and unfortunately just pushed it a little bit too much.
No, absolutely. Well, not on this one, and then back onto it. Now you've got that. Take the breath. Here we go again.
I get to hear every time. I was like, here we go.
And here, look, no brake at all. No brake whatsoever. Carried the speed through. Now let's just go back to that again. 195 kilometers an hour at this point. Let's see.
Yeah, so
187, you got dropped down to 187, and then you're back up to the speed again.
Just to let the geeks know as well, that the camera system runs off GPS. So actually, my actual speed through there was higher than it says on the camera.
Okay.
The camera's GPS, not on your
speedo, yeah.
Correct, yeah. So it was I think the fastest I went through there was 191 minute. So where it says 188, it was actually 191. It's not a lot, but yeah, it's a lot.
We all love that. I mean, it's the same as if I jump back through this a little bit further. I mean, Folly, this first corner, that's just flat out, so that's no issue at all. But look at this going up 234, 235, 236 over Avon Rise. Now decides to drop down. Just look at that again, everyone. Over Avon Rise. So heading up 232, 233, 234, 5, 6. Now starts dropping down. I mean, absolutely an incredible lap. Let me just let everyone have one last flick through this, because I want to then talk about it a little bit more with you rather than showing it. Just let everyone enjoy this a second. I'll turn the noise back on again. And we'll just give that the time to say thank you to everyone there, because I know it will mean a lot to you doing it properly. At Stefano Leaney Racing, make sure you go and check that one out. It is well worth it. And incidentally, by the way, if anybody wants to, let me just quickly share this as well. If you go to, let me bring that one up. So it doesn't show it there, annoyingly, but StefanoLeaneyRacing.com. Let me change which one I use, actually. Let me share screen, stop screen.
I need to get some t-shirts. I'm actually in the process of getting some t-shirt made, so I've sold out of the coats, and obviously no one needs a coat at the moment because it's too bloody warm. So
no, absolutely. Well, if I do it this way, right, so you should be able, there you go, you see Stefano Leaney, Leaney, racing.com. All the information is here and what have you, but go to /shop and you've got, a number of things here to be able to grab. And the only reason I'm saying that now is that, and again, we love all this stuff, is that is our new outright lap record holder. Go and have a look at it, go and do it. It's just so cool, and we hope that you're going to come back to be able to do it again. Let me just quickly jump back, because I've been ignoring the comments as well.
I think it's really, the circuit hasn't visited that track since 2009 MSVR with the F3s, so it's definitely one that everyone's going to be pitching for next year, because it's probably going to be my favorite circuit of the year, to be honest.
It's the right thing to say, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I love Donington, I love Alton Park, but for me, it's like a blend of a sort of Croft, a little bit of Donington. It's got the minimum sort of speed of Donington, but the sort of technicality and risk factor that Croft brings, sort of all in one, really.
Yeah, I see what you mean there. Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Well, Martin Week says, watch Stefano spin at Bobby's, and second place got right up behind him, yet 3 laps later, he was 16 seconds in front again. Incredible. And I have to say is that that is some great cars and some great talent that is out there that Stefano was competing against. And I know, because I've commentated on a whole load of those. I mean, Shane Kelly, goodness me. I mean, what he doesn't know about F3 isn't worth knowing about, frankly. Dominic Paul is he's an am.
Yeah, he's a quick am, though.
Very, because I've covered him in British GT and GT Cup, as well as the LMP3. He
hasn't got the build of an am either. He keeps himself fit and trim. So
doesn't he just? And he's a lovely, lovely guy. I've got a lot of time for Dominic. He's a cracking bloke. I love this. Jordan Honeybone, that was in the Track Day Championship. I wasn't far off that time, was I? Yes, mate. But you know it. But I shall see you in a week and a bit's time at Snetterton, mate. And you're not racing, I don't think, are you? But your dad is in the 12 hours race.
I don't really know what else like lap times other people do. Really, I haven't really had a look. I mean, I need to probably have a little look, to be honest.
And obviously it varies, doesn't it? At the end of the day, it's all relative, but it is the outright. We were getting close to it. We had Craig Dolby was down in this Volvo. It was a Volvo, but it was like a space frame central driver
silhouette.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I mean, it was like the Dutch Supercar Challenge.
Yeah. I've seen one of them. It's like a bright blue.
Correct, exactly right. And I don't know where that is now, but he was taking that, and we were convinced that he was certainly going to go minutes, mate. He might even go sub-minute, and that was a big deal, which it would be in a car like that, to be fair. But we didn't quite manage to see the best out of it, and then it was sold on, so we're not sure. But that's an extreme. We Simon Tilley, who had ridiculous lap times in GT cars there.
He had a turbocharged Radical at one point, didn't he?
Correct, exactly right. Yeah, and he was impressed, going, "Wow, that's a quick lap time." He knows it because the speed he was taking with that turbocharged Radical thing over Avon Rise was just mind blowing.
The Nismo GTR, isn't he? Or was that Graham Tilley? No, that's Graham.
That's
Tilley.
Graham Tilley. Yeah, he's in Godzilla. Yeah, no, Simon Tilley. He went off to race planes, as you do.
Of course.
Obviously. I love this. Lewis Bird, who races in hot hatches. I found the same bumper cap, and they did on the infield. Absolutely, people see it. Davey Baggy Malpass, even everyone, and congratulations to Stefano on his record break, and that's one of our mighty Orange Army. Oh, I love this one. My dad's watching, or was watching. Hi, son, what a spectacular show bringing Stefano on. He's not just a great driver, but also a great interviewee.
Thanks, David.
I knew that you would be anyway, mate. That's why I asked you. On the day I told you got to come on the show, didn't I? Before you even broke the record. Ben Hayward says, good to use the word foliage in the post-race interview on the day.
Dan Clarke tweeted me, actually, congratulated me, which was very nice of him. And he said, not like my day, when I was out qualifying, they were mowing the lawn with a tractor. And I was like, I mean, obviously there's a solar panel farm in there now, but obviously that was grass or something. And yeah, I just thought that's
it was a farm. The infield was a farm. Basically, it was looked after by a farmer.
Amazing.
They grow crops in there. Absolutely. I got a broken nose on the infield when I went corn diving. When you go running for as far as you possibly could until the corn dragged you down. And
there's a famous picture of was it PK, and he's like literally up to his helmet in like reeds or whatever it is, whatever flowers that they grow there.
Yeah, very probably. It was. Well, I forgot to put my hands out because I was drunk, and so I went straight face down, and that doesn't mix too well with your nose, apparently. So
amazing.
There we go. Jordan Honeybone again from the Track Day Championship. I thought a 1:18 Rancoon was good going in a saloon, but that's an unreal time. Congrats, Stefano. One of our quarry hardcore, and we've got a hardcore up there that are always there. Epic lap, just pity I was working, so I missed it live. Was pleased to see the vid, and I know you said straight away before you even went out, you said, "Don't panic, I'll have the onboard."
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, mate. Thank you for that one.
So I know it means a lot to the coon cult.
100%, yeah. Mike Cotton, another one of the sort of like the longer term quarry hardcore. Really, I like that all-time record, and he's still learning. That's why I knew that you'd be right to get on, Stefano, because I love you've got this interesting blend where you've got all the bravado, but you're humble enough to say, no, I'm still learning, I'm still improving, I'm still picking up information. It's just the perfect blend. Jordan Honeybone, hi Chris, how are we doing? Congrats, Stefan, on the mega lap record. I was only 20 seconds slower that weekend in the saloon. Stefan Lansley, what horsepower does your car have?
So in the current setup, it's about 250 horsepower. Probably not as much as people think.
No, absolutely, but it doesn't weigh a lot though, does it?
It weighs. So we run at 583 kilos with driver without fuel.
And I was making a comment in my commentary, although I'm terribly worried that I got the figure wrong, is that you were telling me before that where there was a restriction beforehand and that has been removed.
Yeah, so last year,
you lost something like 40 kilos could be taken off.
Yeah, so last year with F3 Cup, there was one class, and what they did was the slightly older cars, to level up the playing field, they weighted our cars up. So we had to be 610 with driver.
Wow.
So now we're 583. So you imagine the 610, then you got 20 litres of fuel. So 630 kilos. And now we're more like 600. So it's about a 30 kilo difference when we started.
30 kilos, yeah. So I exaggerated a little bit with 40, but I wasn't far off, to be fair. So
it's not far off. And the F308s run at, and the F312, the same as what Dominic and Shane race, they race at 550 kg. So they're incredibly light.
Yeah, quite exactly right.
With driver, so.
Mighty Roy Salisbury, one of the officials. So I enjoyed my first ever visit to Combe. I couldn't believe that was your first visit, Roy, considering we've crossed paths all over the country. I was up on the rostrum, up in that big, the orange.
Oh, yeah, that big tower.
Which moves. When you stand on the top, that moves. That's quite scary, but he was up there. I was up on the rostrum.
Is that where the checkered flag comes out?
Yeah, the top one, and there's one at the bottom as well. Watching the lap times tumble, and I was thrilled to be there seeing that iconic lap. And that's the key thing that people are saying. It was a I was there moment, and that's the great thing. Pippa Gore, hi all. That's one of the Mighty Orange Army, my dancing marshal. She is a great one. Rob Jones, surprised to see how similar line to the line into Quarry Stefano takes. I'm not sure. Oh, here we go. He's changed it. Sorry, he's changed it. Very similar line to Quarry as the bikes, because Rob Jones is one of our biker instructors as well as a racer.
Well, he used to race bikes, and he's bang on, because I've seen some bike footage, and bikes generally turn in earlier than cars. So he's bang on with that. So that's a good observation. Well done, Rob.
No, exactly, because he does coach as well as race and commentate last year as well. He did because he had to get drafted in.
When I was racing bikes, I thought bikes was so fast. I thought they were like so much faster than cars until I started racing cars. And just to give you perspective, you bike fans, just give you some sort of like something to base it on, some tangible. The outright lap record for a MotoGP bike at Silverstone Grand Prix is just under a 1 minute 59. we can lap in these F3 cars at 150.
Yeah.
It's just, it's nuts. Obviously because of the corner speed and the braking potential, but it just showed that's a MotoGP bike and they're not slow.
No, just a bit.
They just make the time up in a different way, that's all.
Hence, Anne-Marie says that is just mental watching that one. It's so good. Craig Horner says, wicked lap. Just wondering, do the cars in this series have the same amount of power as they would have when they were used in British F3, or are they restricted at all?
So British F3 back in 2005, they ran Mugen Hondas, I believe, but they were 540 kg.
Right.
Power to rate ratio is about the same. Probably like in physical actual power, they were probably a touchdown. But Stuart Tarr, very famous guy in the single-seater world, works Chris Dittman Racing. He actually had the data from Castle Combe in 2005 because he was there, and their top speed was quicker than ours.
Really?
Yeah, because they had a lot less aero. See, so their actual straight line speed. Their VMAX braking before Tower. That's the long right hander, isn't it? Before Bobby's.
Yeah.
So their VMAX there at Tower was 3 miles an hour more than mine.
Blimey.
Yeah, but we make it all up in the corners because we've got more aero. So, but that's kind of the issue though, is that it's easier to make the time up on a straight, isn't it? Because you just have to put down. But to make it up in the corner, it means you've got to be more committed in the corner. So it's kind of it's mighty impressive they did that time, but we noticed that the chicanes are a bit slower now, and which obviously made it even harder to do it. But we all like a challenge.
Well, absolutely, you certainly do. Jackie Fay says, I should study this to find the right lines for driving the company car, aka the fire truck. Absolutely, Jackie, without question. David Vass says, Stefano, thank you so much for talking to us. You've been so interesting and entertaining to listen to. Brilliant. David Vass has been around circuits forever, and he was in the sort of helping our co-commentator out. Let me just see.
I might learn a thing or two.
Sam Strong says there's something afoot here. Dawsy's not on the gin.
No,
Sam,
he is on the gin.
You're wrong, mate. You're wrong. You know,
he's just pausing the screen while he drinks it.
Yeah, I never hide it at all. Chris Mason from the medical centre, and in real life a paramedic. Stunning watching you during testing. Sadly, didn't see the race, which was tucked in the medical centre. I hope you're feeling better now as well, mate. Goose says, what are Stefano's thoughts of a lap time of a modern F1 around Combe? What do you, and this actually is relevant because, of course, Nigel Greensill took a legacy F1 car round in 99 or something like that. 97. Yeah. What do you think a modern F1 car could do around Combe, do you reckon?
So, Max Verstappen at Silverstone National has gone round there 8 seconds quicker than I have.
Wow.
Silverstone National. So Silverstone National is 1.4 mile, 1.5 miles. So it's 0.3 shorter than Combe. So if you up that to at least 9 seconds, you're probably looking at a 50 dead or 49 if they can make you compliant enough.
Which is pretty mind blowing, isn't it?
It's mind blowing. But this is what I'm trying to say. That people need to understand the jump in speed from a 2015 car to a 2020 car in terms of aero capability. I mean, their minimum speed through COPS, as an example, is 30 miles an hour higher now. 30 miles an hour. Considering it was already nigh on 150 miles an hour to begin with, to go 30 miles an hour quicker through an 82-degree corner is just mental. It's just nuts. So, yeah, I would put my money on that they would do a 50 flat run there.
Oh, wow. You never know.
Because the issue with them is the circuit's so narrow in Combe compared to what they're normally on. And, yeah, they can't really use the brakes there much, and the chicanes are narrow. But, yeah, I'd say a 50 because they've got a lot of power.
Well, we had, obviously, we lost the ability for any sort of even real demo laps there because of the noise. But, frankly, nowadays, they're quiet enough. We could probably have them back again, couldn't we?
Yeah.
They're nowhere near as loud.
The hybrids. Yeah.
Exactly. Just to quickly bring it to light then, so we've sort of like had a bit of a discussion. I mean, just to make sure people know what our record holder's about, we said that he started car racing in 2017, won the championship. You also did some stunt driving as well.
I did, yeah. There's a famous British rapper called Jay Huss. So I did a bit of stunt driving for him in his video. So all the cars you see in his video that are driving around, doing burnouts and drifts and stuff, that was myself.
Awesome. Yeah. Is that something you're hoping to do more of then?
If I get the opportunity to, I think I'd like to get more involved in the coaching side of it. I enjoy the coaching a lot more. I enjoy speaking to people and seeing them improve. So I'm sort of like going on that journey at the moment, which is good.
Yeah. I know. I bet you do like it because you were on the receiving end and you know what it means.
Yeah.
Well, this is impressive. Goose has actually just pointed out what you reckon is the 50 flat for an F1 car. That's actually quicker than the F1 car when pre-chicane.
What was the pre-chicane record?
I can't remember off the top of my head. Somebody will answer that in a minute. Someone will answer in a minute. What was the pre-chicanes fastest lap that we did through that as well? And Emma Mason, Chris' better half. Sorry, Chris, but you've got to accept that. Hi, Dawesy. Josh is loving their little boys, loving watching you, but it's time for bed. Can you tell him it's bedtime? Josh, it's not me. It's going to tell you. Stefano's going to tell you.
Josh, it's bedtime. You need to get your beauty sleep. You also want a lot of energy Friday night, right? You don't want to be tired for the weekend, so go to bed. I actually go to bed early all the time. I like to wake up early but go to bed early. So go to bed.
Good man. There you go, Josh. Craig Homer says, and I don't know whether you'd be able to answer this or not, what sort of time you reckon a modern Indy car would do around Combe then compared to your car?
Indy cars got the same sort of level of aero as an F1 car, to be fair. They're just not designed to drive around circuits in the circuits that we know of. It's a completely different discipline altogether. So it's a difficult question, really. If they were set up for a circuit, then they'd be comparable. They'd certainly be comparable with an F2 car. They're not designed for that. You see, their wheelbase, the way how long they are compared to how wide. It's just. They're not designed for that. They're designed for a high terminal speed.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Roy Salisbury says he reckons Silverstone National is 1.649 from memory. That's very precise, Roy. I'm impressed, mate. Sam Strong, he drives all sorts of saloons and lives a stone's throw from Brands Hatch, a very good friend of mine. That is such a good perspective. It'd be amazing to see it happen in a modern F1 car. I'd agree. We would love that one.
Just shows, though, Brands Hatch Indy, I think it was Steve Tandy in that 919 Evo hybrid tried to beat Scott Mansell's lap record in an old Benetton B197, I think, and he still couldn't beat it.
No,
So it's even F1 cars of Nigel Green's record like 50.59. So they probably match that without any with the two chicanes.
That would be incredible, wouldn't it? I'd love to see that. And I know Nigel would love to do that as well if we got a chance. Anne-Marie, I got to put this up because she's a wonderful lady, came on a racing school, but little did I know she was already doing Formula Woman, really trying to sort of step forward and flying the flag. Would Stefano coach me?
Of course.
Absolutely. Jump on, contact.
Just drop me a message on my Stefano Leaney page and we'll get it sorted.
So Stefano Leaney, Leaney, racing.com. Go and have a look, Anne-Marie. Definitely drop a line.
Or on Facebook.
Oh, yeah, it probably is, to be honest. Emma Mason, thank you so much. He's just gone up. Thank you. So Josh has gone to bed. Well done, mate. Tim Perry says, well said to you. Now, I don't know whether that means he's gone to bed as well. I'm not sure. But probably. Right. Let me just quickly sum through so that everybody knows what our lap record holders got. Presumably this means in the F3 cars set 4 lap records: Brands Hatch Indy, Silverstone National, Snetterton 300 and Anglesey Coastal. Or is that outright lap records? That
was in the Radical. Got you. Okay. Yeah, in the bike sports. I think I've still got 2 or 3 of them. I think I've got Silverstone, Yeah, I've got Silverstone National, Brands Hatch, and I've still got Snetterton.
Okay, cool. Good man.
In that.
Raced in Brick Car Endurance in 2017 in the Radgar XC GT3. 1 win, 2 podiums, 3 fastest laps out of 3 races. You raced in the HSR Classic Sebring 12 Hour in 2017 as well. That was an opening year.
That was, I know, it was mental. It was one thing after another.
Wow,
I think I was racing pretty much every 3 weeks. I've got a video on my YouTube actually, and they do rolling starts obviously for these endurance races.
Yeah.
And I'm sat behind Tom Christensen's Le Mans winning R8.
As you do.
Not driven by Tom Christensen, sadly, but I was in a Lola B2K40 that's got about 360 horsepower. It wasn't slow. And I remember I actually got a better start than him. I got on power earlier, and it just went. It left me like I was in, like I was in a completely different realm. It was nuts.
Wow, fair shout.
That was great.
And in that 2017 year as well, you got second place in the Autosport Club Driver of the Year.
I did, yeah, I did. I still got that snippet somewhere actually.
You ought to be proud of that. Although our very own Gary Preble, I think he won first in that last year. I might be remembering things wrongly, but But no, we know how good that is. Dutch GT and Proto Cup in 2018 in the Norma M20 FC as well.
Yeah, we won Spa the first round. I put it on pole for Zolder, I think, and then our engine went. So annoying. Nightmare. And we didn't get it back until Zandvoort was like 2 weeks later. We didn't get it back in time, so. I just did a couple of bits, and then did my first F3 race was at the end of that year in Silverstone, and it was after they first resurfaced it.
Yeah,
and it flooded, and we could race.
Yes, I was there.
Yeah,
I was in the commentary box down at Maggots and Beckett's,
flooded,
and we were just waiting for it to happen.
I think I was P2 for my first race there ever, and. Yeah, it got rained off.
Yeah, I remember that one well. Now you might not know this because I took this from one of the driver databases website, and it's probably even better than this now. But your race to podium ratio is 70%.
Is it?
Apparently so. If you go, I'm trying to remember, that was either from Driver DB or Forex, but that was, I think, up until the end of last year. So it's going to have improved even further than that now. Which is mighty, mighty impressive, which is why I wanted to say that. So the lap record by Dan Clarke was 59.387. Stefano in race 1 went to 58.759. And then in race 2, took it down to 58.597, an average speed of 113.66 miles an hour. Absolutely incredible to see. Just to give you a bit of background, and I'm intrigued by this one, is that you are a director for Technical Lift Recruitment, which is a niche recruitment company for skilled staff in lift and escalator industry.
Again, a really, and I buy and sell vintage watches as well as part of my.
Yes, that was the other part I was going to say. Vintage watch lad.
That's me. Again, I fell into that job because of racing. When I was in the bikes, I was in Portimao. The year that the World Superbikes went in the first time, and I met a guy there through the bikes, and that's how I ended up moving to London. So, yeah, is that my sister? Oh yeah, it's my sister.
Marletta Colwill, so proud to see my brother at the races, making memories. Mum says she's extremely proud of you, but remember, behind a great racer is an even better mum.
That's not the saying, though, is it, Mum? No. Well, that's fine. I'll let you have that.
Yeah, and Stephen Carpenter says, hi, Chris and Stefano. Greenstill's time was 50.59. Great insight. It was a privilege to witness the record going. Hope you like your picks, Stefano.
Yeah, they should be in Autosport tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Stefano. I could keep chatting forever and ever to you. I look forward to, I'm pretty sure you and I will catch up again during the course of the year.
Yeah, we're at Alton Park in about 5 weeks' time.
Yeah, I'm not at that one, but I'm pretty sure I got a few other F3 Cup. I normally do at some point on the mic.
And then Snetterton, Brands, then Snetterton. Then Donington, then Snetterton. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure I got a few more. Alfie Gendall racing. This is a young racer that's a very promising young talent. Fantastic listening to Stefano. Love hearing about the data and the changes they make to the car from it. Would love to see this and understand more about what the data is telling the race engineers. Really interesting. Such a mega lap. Congratulations.
Well, if you want to find out more, the University of Wolverhampton do a mega motorsport engineering degree, and they're one of the only universities that do the practical side as well as the theory side. So you can go and manage a race car and work with Shane and the crew down there, which is fantastic. Yeah.
And don't forget as well, Wiltshire College at Castle Combe. You can certainly do that as well, and then lead on to the university as well. So you've got the whole.
Yes, you can do like a diploma before you go to university. Yeah,
correct, exactly right, and get yourself onto it. So do it. Ben Hayward says, "Thank you, superb broadcast. Absolutely, he's been an amazing guest, hasn't he? Fab interviews, learning so much. This is fab." Tim Perry, one of the Orange Army, says, "Thanks, Stefano. Been great to see you, and a big congratulations on the lap record." Stefano, thank you so much for joining us, mate, and thank you for congratulations on breaking that lap record.
Let's hope we can do it again next year.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, that was your new record holder. You sit far there, mate, because I'm going to pop us back to the green room. We'll chat after this goes live for 2 seconds, if that's okay with you. But thank you so much for joining us, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed it. It is your new lap record holder. We'll be back again very soon with even more information. Now, if you want to go racing, don't forget you can learn to do that at Castle Combe.
Becoming a racing driver has never been easier with Castle Combe Circuit. Book your ARDS Novice Drivers Training course at the Wiltshire venue today. The easiest and quickest way into competitive on-track action.
Welcome to Castle Combe. My name's Alan Cooper. I'm the Chief Driving Racing Instructor here at this circuit. We're here today to do the Novice Driver Training course, often known as the ARDS course, which is the first way to start off and get your racing driving licence. So, no further ado, let's get on and show you what's involved.
So you've seen the format. Everyone here today passed their tests and now have their racing licence. Who knows? The next time I see them could be as I commentate on them in front of the usual packed house of racing fans here at Castle Combe Circuit. All you need to do to be next is to visit castlecombecircuit.co.uk and select Become a Racing Driver under the Racing tab. Becoming a racing driver is easier than you think with Castle Combe Circuit and Motorsport UK.